Life is unpredictable, and sometimes it feels like we're walking through a storm that we didn't prepare for. The challenges, the pain, and the hardships we face can be overwhelming. We all have those moments where we question the reason behind the suffering, where we wonder if we're being punished or if there's any meaning to the struggles we're enduring. But what if pain wasn't a punishment, but a preparation? What if God is using your pain to shape and refine you for a greater purpose? Billy Graham famously said, "Mountain tops are for views and inspiration, but fruit is grown in the valleys." The mountain tops are where we feel inspired and alive, where we glimpse the potential of what could be. But the valleys, the tough times, the struggles and the pain are where we grow, where God does His most powerful work in us. It is in the valleys that we find the strength to rise again and the wisdom to see beyond our circumstances. We often wish that the valleys could be avoided, but the truth is, the valleys are essential. They're where we learn to trust, where our character is tested, and where our faith is refined. So today, I want to share a message that might shift your perspective on pain. I want to show you how the pain you're facing right now could very well be the divine preparation for something greater that's ahead. There are specific types of pain that God uses to shape us, and it's in these painful moments that He's calling you to rise. Body. The 3 specific pains and their divine purpose. 1. The pain of rejection. Divine redirection for a greater purpose. Rejection can be one of the most painful experiences we face. It can feel like a deep wound in our soul, leaving us questioning our worth. Whether it's rejection from a job, from a relationship, from family, or from friends, it can make us feel invisible and unwanted. But here's the truth. Rejection is not a reflection of your value. It's a signal that God is redirecting your path. David was rejected by his own brothers, but he was chosen by God to be the king of Israel. Joseph was betrayed and abandoned by his brothers, yet through that rejection, he was positioned to save nations. Jesus himself was rejected by the very people He came to save, but through that rejection, He fulfilled His divine mission to bring salvation to the world. Rejection might feel painful, but it's often the very thing that shifts your direction toward your true purpose. When people say no, it might just be God's way of saying, "I have something greater in store for you." Trust that God is guiding you toward a better path, one that aligns with His perfect plan for your life. 2. The pain of isolation. A season of sacred preparation. Isolation can feel like one of the hardest experiences to endure. You might feel alone, like no one understands you, or like you've been abandoned. But isolation is not the same as abandonment. It is a time of consecration, a time when God is preparing you for something extraordinary. Look at Moses. Before he led the Israelites out of Egypt, he spent 40 years in the wilderness. It was during that time of isolation that he learned to trust God and hear His voice. Jesus spent 40 days alone in the desert, fasting and praying, before He began His ministry. Even the Apostle Paul, after his conversion, spent time in solitude before he began his missionary journeys. God often pulls His greatest warriors into isolation, because it's in the quiet and the solitude that He molds us, strengthens our faith, and deepens our relationship with Him. If you find yourself in a season of isolation, don't resist it. Embrace it as God's way of preparing you for something bigger. In your solitude, God is speaking, shaping, and refining you. Isolation is not abandonment, it's preparation. 3. The pain of repetition. The divine training ground. Life often feels like a series of repetitive challenges. You do everything right. Praying, staying faithful, trusting. And yet, it feels like you're facing the same struggles over and over again. The same tests, the same battles, and the same unanswered prayers. This can be frustrating. But what if I told you that God is not allowing this repetition for no reason? What if He's using these repetitive struggles as a training ground? Just like a potter shapes clay by spinning it over and over again, God uses repetition to shape our hearts and refine our spirits. Each cycle, each struggle is part of the divine process of development. You are not stagnant. You are being strengthened. Every time you endure a challenge, you build spiritual muscle that will prepare you for what lies ahead. The Apostle Paul reminds us that suffering produces perseverance, perseverance builds character, and character gives us hope. Romans 5:3-4. So when life feels repetitive and you feel like you're stuck, remember that you are being prepared for something greater. Trust that God is building something inside you that will last. He is developing you, not delaying you. 4. The pain of waiting. Trusting God's timing. The pain of waiting can be one of the most challenging forms of suffering. You've prayed, you've hoped, and you're waiting for an answer, but nothing seems to change. The wait can feel unbearable, and it's easy to think that God is silent or that He's forgotten about you. But waiting is not wasted time. It is God's preparation. Think of Abraham, who waited for 25 years for the promise of a son. Think of Joseph, who spent years in prison before his dream came true. Even Jesus had to wait for 30 years before beginning his public ministry. In all these cases, God's timing was perfect. He didn't forget. He was preparing them, and His plan unfolded at exactly the right moment. If you are in a season of waiting, do not despair. God is working behind the scenes, preparing you for the breakthrough that is coming. Trust that His timing is always perfect, and that what He has for you is worth the wait. Waiting is not a sign of abandonment. It is a sign of preparation. 5. The pain of loss. Restoration after suffering. Loss is one of the most painful experiences we go through in life, whether it's the loss of a loved one, the loss of a dream, or the loss of an opportunity. Loss can feel like the end of everything. But loss is not the end of the story. God specializes in restoration. Think of Job. He lost everything: his wealth, his health, his family. But in the end, God restored him and blessed him even more than before. God's heart is to restore what has been lost. In the Bible, we are reminded that He is near to the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit. Psalm 34:18. If you're facing loss today, know that God sees your pain and He is with you in your sorrow. Trust that He will restore what has been taken and bring new blessings into your life. 6. The pain of spiritual dryness. A call to deeper intimacy. There are seasons when we feel spiritually dry. Our prayers feel empty, our worship feels distant, and we struggle to feel connected to God. Spiritual dryness can feel like a desert, but it is not a time of abandonment. It is an invitation to deeper intimacy with God. In the Bible, the Israelites wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. During that time, they learned to rely on God for their daily needs. The wilderness was a place of dependence, and in that place, their faith was refined. If you are experiencing spiritual dryness, know that God is inviting you into a deeper relationship with Him. It is in the dryness that you learn to thirst for His presence and to seek Him with all your heart. God is using this time to deepen your faith and draw you closer to Him. Trusting the divine process of transformation. As we walk through life, we all encounter moments of pain. But I want to encourage you today. God never wastes pain. Every season of struggle is part of His divine plan. Whether it's the pain of rejection, isolation, repetition, waiting, loss, or spiritual dryness, know that God is using it all to shape you into the person you are meant to be. These painful moments are not signs of failure. They are God's preparation for something greater. Rejection doesn't mean you're unworthy. It means you're set apart for something better. Isolation doesn't mean you're abandoned. It means you're being prepared for greater things. Repetition doesn't mean you're stuck. It means you're being refined and strengthened. Waiting doesn't mean God is silent. It means He's preparing you for the right moment. Loss doesn't mean you're forsaken. It means God is restoring what was taken. Spiritual dryness doesn't mean God has left you. It means He's calling you into deeper intimacy. You are not alone. You are being transformed, refined, and prepared for a future greater than you can imagine. Keep trusting, keep praying, and keep moving forward in faith. Every painful moment is leading you to a greater purpose. The valley may be hard, but the mountain is coming. If this message has spoken to your heart, I want to encourage you to stay faithful in the process. The road may be difficult, but God is with you every step of the way. The struggles you face today are making you stronger, and they are preparing you for the greater things God has in store. Please subscribe for more spiritual encouragement and insights. You are not alone in this journey. The best is yet to come.